I'm Andrea. I'm a registered dietitian and owner of a private practice in Calgary called Ignite Nutrition. However, before I was in private practice, I worked at the Cross Cancer Institute and I did inpatient nutrition there. And so oncology is very near and dear to my heart, and I've seen the role nutrition plays throughout treatment and beyond. So in my private practice now, I mostly deal more with cancer prevention as well as reducing risk of recurrence and helping survivors live the healthiest life possible. My approach to nutrition is all about practical nutrition. So I believe that inherently we all know what is healthy and what isn't. It's more our behavior around food that we really struggle with. So whether we eat that second brownie or whether we choose some of those delicious salad rolls that community has just up there. And so when it comes to healthy eating, there's lots of stuff out there that's super sexy and makes nutrition fun. And so I'm gonna do my best to bring that to you, but I think at the end of the day, what I want you guys to get out of this is the confidence and competence to know that you already know what is inherently healthy and what isn't. So, 2 out of 5 Canadians are diagnosed with cancer in their lifetime, and 1/3 of those cancer cases are related to our food, our nutrition, what we eat and drink, and our weight and physical activity. So it's no wonder that people turn to nutrition to help manage their cancer and help to reduce their cancer risk. Unfortunately, there is a ton of misinformation out there. The first thing people go to is Dr. Google, of course. And so when you Google cancer and nutrition, a ton of stuff comes up. And there's a lot of misinformation out there and a lot of people promising certain things, certain outcomes with different interventions. And a lot of times they're asking to get into your wallet. So what I want to do tonight is bring to you guys evidence-based nutrition and really practical tips on how you can work those things into your life. Because it's really easy to say eat more fruits and vegetables, but you're going to leave here and really not know how to do that. So I really want to make it practical for you. So there's a lot of really great research studies out there, and I think it's really exciting because we've seen through population-based studies that a healthy diets high in whole foods, plant-based proteins, and fruits and vegetables are associated with lower cancer risk and reducing the risk of recurrence. So researchers have now started looking at how individual molecules within food influence cancer and cancer development. Specifically, there's a ton of research around phytochemicals, antioxidants, and there's starting to be a lot of research around gut health, colon cancer risk, all that sort of stuff. However, a lot of that research is done in vitro, meaning it's done in a lab, which is a great place to start so we can understand the mechanisms behind what goes on with using these phytochemicals, these antioxidants to help lower cancer risk. However, a lot of times these phytochemicals behave a lot differently when we actually consume them. So a lot of times when you go online, you'll find information selling you really high dose supplements or a good example is Juice Plus. They're packing a whole bunch of phytochemicals and nutrition into that, but we still don't know how this behaves in the body. And so a great example of this is with vitamin E in breast cancer. So in the lab, in a research lab, they've shown that vitamin E helps to stop cancer cell growth, which is really exciting and really great. But then when you look at the population-based studies, when people actually consume vitamin E to lower their cancer risk, they've found that it doesn't actually lower cancer risk, and there's really no difference between the people that take vitamin E and the people that don't take vitamin E to reduce their risk of recurrence or developing cancer. So then we have to ask ourselves, what is going wrong with that? So why is that, different? So even though using these phytochemicals, these antioxidants, these different food-based chemicals make sense in theory and research in a lab, it's not what's actually happening when we consume them. Supplements are not supported to improve health outcomes and reduce cancer risk. So what does that mean for us? time and time again, it comes back to whole food. It comes back to seeing that cancer risk and reducing risk of recurrence is best dealt with focusing on whole foods. So fruits and veg, whole grains, plant-based proteins, beans and lentils, all of those sorts of things are better shown to reduce that cancer risk. So we don't really understand yet why these whole foods act differently in the body. Is it how our gut bacteria metabolize that food and some of those signaling pathways that are produced? Is it the byproducts of metabolism that help to protect us? Or is it simply that these whole foods that we're choosing displace some less healthy choices and help us to maintain a better body weight, whereas a supplement might not? There are many exciting compounds and chemicals they're looking at within the food. So for example, I'm sure you guys have all heard of resveratrol. So that's that phytochemical in red wine and grapes that's shown to reduce cancer cell growth. There's also things like phytochemicals in cruciferous vegetables and garlic and soy products and flaxseed that is shown to help slow the growth of cancer cells. And so what I think all of these things have in common is that they're whole foods. So what I want to talk about is how we can get these whole foods into our diet in a really practical, food-first kind of way. Things that are going to work for you guys day in and day out that you can build habits around. So I don't know if you guys saw this at the front yet. I have my 6 small nutrition changes to reduce cancer risk bookmark, and then on the back is a whole bunch of cancer resources that are available either in Calgary or online for you that are more food focused. So if you have this bookmark, I'm going to be going through some really practical things with it right now. So my first rule when it comes to reducing cancer risk is around fruit and veg consumption. So how many of you guys eat vegetables with your lunch and supper every day? Do you just, raising your hand because you don't want the dietitian to pick on you? Yeah. So my first one is a challenge for you. I want you to try to consistently get in 2 cups of veg at lunch and supper every day. And you're like, oh my gosh, Andrea, that is so much vegetables. And it is. But I'm not asking you to take anything away. I'm asking you to add more into your day. I'm asking you to add more into, your food choices and your food behavior. So go ahead, get that measuring cup out and see what that 2 cups looks like on that plate. So those brightly colored fruits and veg offer a lot of really great health benefits. It offers those phytochemicals, all those exciting things that they're looking at in research in the lab. It offers tons of fiber, which helps to feed the good bacteria and keep your colon healthy and happy and reduce your colon risk or colon cancer risk. And it also helps to displace our intake of less healthy things. So if you get that 2 cups of veg in, that big boost of fiber, you're not going to be sneaking off to the pantry after supper to look for something extra. Or maybe you'll be satisfied with a little bit less of a snack, maybe 1 scoop of ice cream instead of 2, right? So getting those vegetables in, those brightly colored fruits and vegetables, is going to help you to get some of these things in that are really up and coming in research and really also including that whole food perspective. The next one is a big one. So it's about reducing your alcohol intake. So a lot of people I hear some giggling back there, guys. There's nothing wrong with, moderate alcohol intake. However, in Canada, binge drinking is a really big thing. People consume alcohol in large quantities in one sitting. So I often encourage people to try their best to stick to the guidelines around healthy drinking. So 2 drinks an evening for men, 1 for women, and no, you can't save them up for Friday night. So of course people look at me and they're like, Andrea, if I open a bottle of wine, I'm going to drink the whole bottle of wine. And I get it. Life kind of gets busy. Sometimes we're out with friends. Drinking is a social experience. And it gives us a lot of pleasure too, the taste, the smell, the social aspect. However, I often say, stick to something that's reasonable for you. So maybe it's choosing to only have drinks on Friday and Saturday night. Or for some of the younger audience here, sometimes I say if you're going out with friends, set an alarm on your phone. And so maybe it's at midnight, and midnight is the time where you turn into a pumpkin or start drinking water instead of, your wine. Or alternate water and wine, or whatever else I can only think of wine because Linda's back there drinking wine, and I'm a little bit jealous. So, try to cut back in a way that works best for you. It's the overall intake, and that those small reductions can have a big influence on your cancer risk. The next one is a fun one. Who here has heard of Meatless Mondays? Anybody? Yeah? Awesome. So this one is kind of a double whammy. When it comes to Meatless Mondays, it kind of works twofold in your favor. The first one is around reducing our intake of red and processed meats. Red and processed meats in large quantities throughout the week are associated with higher cancer risk. So that's 18 ounces of red meat throughout the week. More than that increases your risk of developing things like colorectal cancer, as well as your intake of processed meats can influence your risk of cancer and cancer recurrence. So when you think about going out to a steakhouse, you think about what size steak you order. Usually the smallest on the menu is 6 or 8 ounce. So if you have that whole amount, you'd be allowed about 2 servings of red meat a week, I'd say. Do your best to eliminate those processed meats where you can. Try to stick to ones that aren't preserved with nitrates or aren't super high in sodium, because those things are believed to be kind of the mechanism, influencing the mechanisms behind cancer development. And the other thing Meatless Monday is good for is introducing plant-based proteins into your diet. So soy has some really great phytochemicals that help to protect against cancer development, as well as pulses. Fiber, it has some phytochemicals called ligands, and there's another one, saponins, there we go, that help to lower cellular damage, reduce inflammation, and really help to keep your cells healthy and functioning the way that they should. If you're like, oh my gosh, Andrea, what is pulses? Pulses are chickpeas, lentils, kidney beans, black beans, all that sort of stuff. And lots of times they're not included very regularly in our Canadian diet. So if you aren't super comfortable with them, on the back I have some websites that have some good recipes, as well. Pulse Canada, it's not included on there, has some awesome lentil recipes. On my blog, I have some really great lentil bean recipes as well. I have some Mediterranean stuffed peppers that are to die for. So they give you some options for that Meatless Monday. And it doesn't have to be Monday. My husband's a meatitarian, and he doesn't realize that I purposefully don't feed him meat once a week. So yeah, we practice Meatless Mondays in our house, but if you ask my husband, he'd say he doesn't think that's true. So, or he doesn't know about it anyways. The next one is about eating your calories rather than drinking them. So I don't know if you guys have been on social media in the last 48 hours, but who here has seen the unicorn frappuccino from Starbucks?
I saw that.
Yeah.
It's like fluorescent pink.
Fluorescent pink, blue drizzle. It's a little crazy. So when it comes to eating our calories rather than drinking them, a lot of times calorie-containing beverages are really high in sugar, and higher sugar foods are shown to have a big impact on our weight, which is also related to cancer risk. So keeping and maintaining a healthy weight throughout your life helps to lower cancer risk. As well, liquids tend to make us feel less full than solids. We don't get as much satisfaction from them. So I'd rather you sit down and enjoy a meal or a snack or even a dessert over drinking frappellappuccino or what have you. So when it comes to trying to eliminate those calories, really water, tea, coffee, those sorts of things are just fine. Try to cut back on those Starbucks sweetened beverages or the French vanilla drink from Tim Hortons that has like 50 grams of sugar in a large. So really try to reduce your intake of those things.
What would your feeling be on smoothies? Like, is it just fruit and vegetables?
That's a really good point. I'd say because they contain whole foods, I'm totally fine with that. Smoothies are great. When it comes to juicing, though, juicing removes that fiber. So really try to do the smoothies instead, where you can throw in those handfuls of berries or the handfuls of spinach or those sorts of things, because you still get that whole food. It's just blended into one even consistency. That's a good question. The next one is around whole grains. So my rule of thumb with whole grains is try to make sure that when you're in your house, you're choosing whole grains, and save those, refined carbohydrates for when you're eating out, special dinners, that sort of thing. Try to choose whole grains because they're higher in fiber. Again, they have those really great phytochemicals, and they help to keep us full longer, so reducing our intake of other things throughout the day. I say, if you can't picture how that grain product or how that cereal or granola bar is made, or you can't make it in your own kitchen, then it's probably too refined. So, those really crazy granola bars that are all one texture, that would be something that, how do I really make that in my kitchen? It's probably too refined. Same with those cereals. And again, higher fiber whole grains are the way to go. And then my last tip is to swap processed foods for whole foods. So the challenge I give to you is choose one product in your grocery cart this week that you can swap out for a whole food. So you don't have to do, it's not all or nothing, guys. You don't have to get rid of all the processed food that you have in your cart. Choose one item and then build that skill around cooking that specific food. And then next week you choose a different item. So a good example is those like sidekick style noodles dishes that are really high in sodium, really high in simple carbohydrates, and don't really keep us full that long. Maybe swapping it out for a really simple whole wheat pasta salad, or on my blog I have a sweet potato warm lentil salad. Those are some really good examples of different sides that you could use instead of doing those processed packaged kind of sides. So on the back of this handout here, I have a whole bunch of different cancer resources, some of my favorites around some recipes, some really good credible information around cancer research. But if you take anything away from this talk, guys, it's that small, meaningful changes can have a huge impact on reducing your cancer risk with nutrition. So you don't have to do all 6 of these, but if you start with just one of these things, you're like, yeah, I could do that. Start incorporating that in. And as it becomes a habit, you can start incorporating in other things as well. So just continually build on those skills and develop habits over a lifetime. And that can help to lower your cancer risk, make sure you're getting in all those good phytochemicals, antioxidants, fiber, and help to keep you healthier for longer. So that is all. If you want the bookmark, it's at the back table, and I'm happy to answer any questions at the end.
Awesome. Cool.